Call the board meeting for Monday, September 9th to order. Would everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. In terms of the agenda, we have one. I know of at least one items number 5 and 6 kind of got flip-flopped around. That we'll need to amend the agenda to move board discussion to item 5 and to put item 6 as action items. And then, is there any other possible amendments to the agenda for this evening? You want to move that item to action items and then we'll discussion on that?
Yeah, the 2.7.
Okay.
KSB.
So, I guess I'll move that we amend the agenda to flip-flop items 5 and 6 on the agenda, and then move item 2.7 down to the action items. This would be 6.2.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor? Raise your right hand. All right. Motion carried. And then approved. With that, we'll jump into our presentations. Barb.
Well, good evening. I'm going to present a small snippet of what's been going on in student nutrition. And first, I want to say congratulations for the passing of the bond. That is exciting to our department as well as many, I'm sure. So I want to thank you for your positive role in preparing and presenting the bond for the high school. We are so excited to have one kitchen under one roof to serve our students and staff, and we're excited that the staff doesn't have to go back and forth just like the kids with big pieces of equipment to another school. So thank you. We're very excited. Item 2, the summer food program. I wanted to share with you that it ran from May 20th to July 19th this past summer. The summer lunch crew is what we call them. They fed 4,395 summer meals, and that was up 514 from last summer. So we were real excited about that. The summer lunch crew is awesome. It takes many of them to serve the kids because people like to be off during the summer, so we have to recruit certain people to come in and work. The book buggy, which is what it was formerly called, I don't know what it was called from TES before, but they were there all summer and offering books to the students and little treats, and I think it went really well. And it was great to be feeding both stomachs and minds. We started off the year with an in-service, just so that the board knows that I'm very serious. I was very serious about this year. I did an assessment of some equipment cleaning, how equipment looked. This equipment is very, very expensive and repairs are pretty large. And so I brought in Hobart, who we have mostly in our district, and he went through a step-by-step program, preventative maintenance, to how we can keep our machines clean and working properly for safety for the kids and everyone. So the staff now has been properly trained and following maintenance cleaning every single week and every single month. So I wanted you to know that was it's pretty important because some of the things are pretty expensive too. We just had to replace, which I still don't understand why, but we had to replace the TES disposal, and that's like $1,600, and then it costs about $1,500 to install, but maintenance popped in, did it for us, so we're really excited for that. Number 4, digital menus. I invested in digital menus thinking the bond would pass and hoping to excite the kids with some things, so we're hoping to go live very shortly. We're still training and setup is still in the works. The TVs look really nice, the color's very bright, and it gives them new things. It even has a updated, I think they call it a ESPN ticker at the bottom. I don't know. So I know the kids have asked if they could watch basketball on it. We're still kind of waiting for that to see, because it is supposed to be spent for food and updates. Staffing for 1920, it started out, we needed at least 4 people. We did hire 3. We're not 100% fully staffed, so we're going at it again and trying to get some quality people. But the ones that we hired were working really good, and we're really excited. And then in my office, we're getting ready for the free and reduced. I call it the kids count. This is very stressful because you have to get those free and reduced numbers right. They have to match, and they get sent on to the state because it helps with all of our funding. So I just want to let you know I'm very proud of our student nutrition staff, and I want you to know they work really hard for Tonganoxie. And if there's any questions, I just want to thank you for allowing me to share a snippet of our day and how it started. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I had a patron who is very passionate about nutrition and you know how the nutrition and the menus are developed. And I don't know if you're prepared for that now, but maybe in a meeting, upcoming update, it would be good for those patrons who are really interested in how that works and how we evaluate, you know, the menus and the nutrition side of things and how those decisions are made. That I think that would be interesting for some patrons who are.
Would you like to give me an example, maybe?
Just like fruits and vegetables mix, you know, menus, snacks, you know, are a good, you know, a question about, you know, how if somebody brings their own, you know, and just loading up on cookies or something like that, and I don't know the details of you know how that works in the student nutrition and those you know, how many they're allowed to have or something like that. But those are some of the questions that I think came up, you know, or breakfast menu items and this, you know, this one individual is very passionate about it and is, you know, that's a big focus for them.
So I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So the difference between a menu item and maybe a la carte smart snacks and those kind of things, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think it's generally around, you know, you know, a balanced diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really where the question, and I don't know if there was any specific examples that they had, that nothing that comes to mind. Just I just took it as an interest in, okay, here's how our program works, here's how we evaluate, here's how we pick, and here's the guidelines or standards which we're following.
Okay.
You know, that our menu, you know, is trying to attain.
Sure. And I do want to let you know that last year during our review at TES, that is looked at, and we met those criteria, all but one.
Yeah, I'll say that as I drink my Coke. So.
I will say that what we find the most of is that students do not choose all of the components that they have to offer them, and they only pick and choose certain ones. And if they were to pick all of the components, they would be very satisfied.
Yeah, and that's. Yeah, because I have one, my youngest. You could put him the best meal in front of him, and then he won't eat any of it. And then 30 minutes later, he's digging through and trying to find chips and stuff, and it's tough. But that would be something I think, you know, just the challenges you're facing, and it's trying to how you balance that, and just that would be, I think, some information that the folks, there's a group of people out there that would be interested in.
And when would you like to
Well,
know?
the next time
You
it's.
got another one coming in the spring.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, that would give you
Do that.
time to put all, I didn't want to put you on the spot in doing that now, I just let you know, that would be something that
Sure.
came up recently.
Yeah, we have a schedule.
Okay, sounds good.
Is there, I just quickly, I mean, I'm glad to hear about having the Hobart come in and train people and do that stuff. I don't know if you have like standard operating procedures or things like that, and then some of that gets incorporated into that for a long run for new hires, or how's that all work?
Well, yes, and I will tell you, having 4 new hires this year with just, in certain areas, it's quite challenging to train. But the managers are supposed to step up and do most of that training because they're familiar with that, but we also have a HACCP manual, and those standard operating procedures are in that manual as well. And when I'm in the kitchens, if I notice anything that they're not following, I do let them know. And then they have a monthly checklist that they have, each employee has to switch off and fill out so that they get more acclimated to what is supposed to be done.
So how will staffing look with one kitchen?
Shouldn't be we'll take the same staffing, we'll just reorganize it differently. Right now before we had 2 managers, we'll go to 1, and that person will be included in there as a position. Whatever we put together, we'll try to keep everybody.
Right.
Not at all want to get and release anyone. So we hope to feed more kids and
Right.
have that. We will have more cashiers, I know that.
Well, it seems like have a challenge of filling all the current positions too, so that may come.
And that is not just our district, it is everywhere. It's pretty challenging in student nutrition.
Right.
And they work hard for a very short period of time, and there's not a lot of break. I mean, it's go once they come in, and it is, I'm not going to compare the job, but it can be quite
Pretty
busy.
demanding.
Yes. I respect what they do.
We do as well.
Appreciate the update.
Yep.
Unless there's any other
Great.
questions,
Okay?
thanks for all the treats you provide us.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Jill.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. And thanks for the new buses. They're so pretty. And I have to just share with you, I had to text Mr. Feldkamp about this. I was sitting at the home first soccer game, and our buses came rolling in from Lansing, and I was sitting there, I'm like, look, there's our new buses. And everybody around was like, really? Those are ours? Those are so pretty. And I'm like, I know. So we really enjoy those, and they have storage. So we're using those primarily for activities, and they are so nice because they add space for the athletes or students, because we can put ball bags and what have you underneath. Not necessarily everything will fit, but a lot, and so it helps. So we're enjoying those, so thank you for those. We've had a good start to the year. It's not been without some hurdles. I did a lot of new things this year. We went online with our enrollment, which actually turned out really well. It went good. People appreciated that. It was just made part of the process of enrollment this year. If you didn't need transportation, you could just bypass that with your enrollment, but it worked out well. There was some question on how that would work and how that looked with pay to ride, and I just reached out to those parents and let them know, because I have to check their addresses anyway, and I'm kind of familiar with the locations that are questionable. We have to put in everybody's distance from school every year anyway, so it's not like it added an extra step or anything, something I already have to do. So I think it was positive. I haven't heard any negative feedback on that being online. So, but anytime you do something new, it's always, you have your process of doing it, and now you're doing it different, so, but it was fun. Also, I've gone to online trip requests, just trying to help cut down on paper that we're using, because it would go, there was just a process, and a lot of times I would end up with multiple copies for the same trip. So I'm just trying to cut down on that process. So again, it's something new, but it's working out well. It's just trying to get yourself into a new process of doing things. So then we added the at-risk preschool class, which again, something new. And I really appreciate all the help I got from the elementary administration in getting all of those kids who needed transportation in transportation. We only had to add one additional route, and that's for that midday time, because you know they don't go all day. So we have a bus that takes them home, and then that same bus picks up others and brings them in. And then the students ride in the morning on whatever big bus they would normally ride on, and whatever big bus they would normally ride home. So it's all worked out. It's just been a lot of new this year, so it's been interesting. But it's kind of all calmed down now, so it's all good. I wanted to give you an update of our current fleet. That includes our 2 new buses, and then on the back side of that, I have the rotation list. So on the top there, I have bus number 60, which is the one that we will be getting rid of before November 18th. That's the one that we're getting rid of for our EPA grant that we are going to receive. Again, that list is kind of my projection. If something comes up that needs a major fix or something, it may move to the top of the list, which is kind of what happened with bus 60. But that's how I foresee the buses being rotated out. Just a little trivia information I thought you might be interested in. Last year, with all of our routes and activities, we traveled almost 332,000 miles, and we didn't have any accidents. So we're going to try to keep that up. Staffing for us continues to be difficult. We are down a route. We were coming into the summer, we had 2 people, well, one person retire and another person step out of a big bus role and wanted to drive special ed. So I was down 2 routes. We were able to hire 1 person, so we're still down a route. So we're using our subs for that right now, which makes scheduling activities kind of tricky, but we're getting her done. And everyone has been great in getting their activity trips in early because they know scheduling gets tight. So that's all I have. Do you have questions for me?
We also added a van
Yes.
and a car.
And a car, yes. And the van we got with a step in, which has already, I've had multiple people already say how much they appreciated that. So we may look at getting a step added to the vans that we currently have just to aid in, because especially younger kids or students with special needs, they hardly can't get in the vans without the step. So that's been a great addition. And then the logos on the side, which was hugely Mr. Feldkamp, has been great. They look really nice. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but they look really nice. So.
I was going to ask that. I thought those looked nice and
Yeah.
recognize who we are.
Just, yeah, a little more pride. That's
Yeah.
what we talked about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before, but we got the rotation, and it kind of feeds on the same question I asked Barb. But, like, do we have kind of just some guidelines of age and miles and things when should we build up our rotation so we can, I know we kind of got off track in the past with budget issues
Right.
and things, but just so that helps in the budget in the future and just like kind of, I know there'd be some guidelines at least to rotating those buses out.
Right. Well, I mean, the state has certain guidelines,
Okay.
for one thing, and then, yes, I kind of go by the maintenance, how many miles it has on it the general overall look of the bus, because we have one particular bus that's looking pretty, so it's, yeah.
And by looking, a lot of it is rust.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you're
Yes.
dealing with,
And
bus.
we did address some of that this summer on the bumpers. We had some buses that were there. I should have brought pictures because they really look really good. We worked on that this summer, kind of sanded some of that rust off and used some, I don't know the proper term, that the stuff that's supposed to like adhere to that rust and stop it. We put some of that on there, and then we sprayed it black, and from a distance it looks really, really good. So,
Usually with buses, it's around the wheel wells and the door hinges is where you have a lot of issues, for whatever, I mean,
Yeah.
just what it is.
yeah.
So, right now, we're probably planning, I mean, I've told Jill this, probably budgeting one bus for next year, based on her success with that grant. Again, she knows that. If that comes through, then we'll take a hard look at it with Lori's permission. She's shaking her head no already, so I'll just, so, no, but it is, it comes down to, we gotta catch up a little bit. And so, one for sure, two, if we get the good news from the, is it energy efficiency or whatever it is, grant?
Right. Yes.
So how did you do on your inspections?
We did good. Everything passed.
No trouble.
Mm-hmm. Everything passed.
And then one other question. So help me understand the spare bus.
Spare buses
Because
are
I see 14, but I know there's not 14 buses sitting around.
really.
That's what it says.
Is it just bus 14?
Oh.
Where you got it labeled as usage, you say spare.
Yeah.
That's not 14 buses just parked sitting, huh?
No. Let's see. All the 40s are spare, and so a spare bus is in case something goes in the shop, and then it, has to be there a day or a week or whatever it is. Then we have the spare buses to use in those instances. And there are times.
It's only 8, I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah, that's what I was
One's a
thinking.
duplicate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, this is the rotation of, sorry, I didn't label that, of what I'm looking at in the order of,
Right,
yeah.
to replace. Okay.
The back side is the road.
So they are backup buses then?
Backup buses, yes.
Okay.
How often are we needing a backup bus with the rotation?
It goes in spurts.
Okay.
It's kind of like your house. It seems like when something breaks, they all break. That's kind of how the buses are. I went and saw Matt the other day, and he's like, "You guys are having a good run." I said, "I know, don't jinx it." And so it just kind of comes in spurts. There are times that I'm like, nothing else can break because we don't have another bus. So it can get to that point, but that's usually in the winter time, and how things like
Right.
to be brittle and
Activities
act
also
crazy.
are highly involved in how spare buses are used because.
Yes.
That's wondering about that.
Now with the 2 new buses, now keep in mind that we have some days that we have 4 or 5 activities leaving. So we can only use, obviously, the two new buses. But so part of the idea with the new buses was to send those out because they look great and they
Right.
look good for the school district.
And they got the storage and that.
And they have the storage.
And you hope they're
also,
dependable.
what's that?
You hope they're dependable.
Yes. And also then for the students, they will get on their normal bus. It'll be a different driver, but they would get on their normal bus. But then on those days that we have 4 things going out, obviously we have to use a spare bus for the route or
Right.
activity. Typically, we don't send spare buses out on activity. We usually send,
Because of the distance away and
Mhm.
the age of
I mean,
the bus.
they're very dependable.
Well, but everything's passed inspection, so
Yes.
it's all within all the
Right.
requirements.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
older.
We absolutely, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal.
Anything else?
Thanks, Jill.
Any other
Okay, thank
questions?
you.
Thank you, Jill. You're up next.
One question I had related to those two is that the common theme is struggling to get applicants for filling those roles. It would be, is there anything that we can do to make those requisitions or those openings more available? I don't know. I don't know what
We've
can
tried,
do.
last year we put up a sign on the fence, and I don't know if that helped a lot, so much.
Sometimes it does.
So, yeah,
That's
we
still
might,
available.
probably need to do that again.
Yeah.
During the wintertime, it just gets destroyed.
Right.
But we had one up last fall. Probably might need to think about that again. And then word of mouth is a lot of it. It's just people recommending to their friends that this is a good job. Bus drivers is really difficult because of the skills and time. Most of them are retired. So,
All right, thanks for having me. Going to cover a few things. I'd like to say thanks to Jill and Barb. We do have a good working relationship with them, and we do a good job of communicating. We had something today that I talked to Barb about, went real smooth, so I appreciate that. Things I'm not going to talk about in the presentation. Our preschool is going well. We've had it's a learning curve anytime you start something new, but Mrs. Blazo has been very key in that, along with Mrs. Rogers, and we've got a nice setup going. We've got proper equipment. The first few days was a little stressful, but I was in there again today, and it's really turned out to be a nice start to the year, and I've gotten a lot of compliments back about Mrs. Rogers and what we're doing in there. So I'm excited, and I think it's going to continue to grow. We have 28 students right now, total 14 in the morning and 14 in the afternoon, and we wanted to cap that at 15. 15 would probably might be too many if you go in there. And I know Mr. Feldkamp's been in a couple times. It's hectic, but it's going well. If you're out in the halls at all, if you've noticed all the things that we put up in the halls and downstairs, we have an interactive hallway that's been great. I know we had a few days it was too hot and rainy that we were able to do some inside recess stuff that we haven't been able to do, but all that was contributed by our parent-teacher club, which has been great. So if you're in the main hallway or in the building, just take a look around. And now people are like, well, we need some here and here. So we're going to continue to add to those things. Our custodian, we just have a new lead custodian that is doing wonderful, Brian Gravitt, and we are going to be kind of the first group in the district to go through group cleaning. And we went through a presentation with Peer Zone, and I'm really excited about it. I didn't know much about the group cleaning thing, but now I'm excited, and we're going to start that process as soon as possible at the elementary school. And I think every now and then we get, well, we didn't get this done or this didn't happen because we have somebody gone or something like that, and hopefully those things will tidy up and we'll be more efficient with it. If you come around 12 o'clock and it's nice out here, you're going to probably see our 5th graders outside of lunch. I got to give kudos to Mr. Henry based on behavior and the ladies. Kids have been outside sitting and eating lunch, and they love it. And they have a choice. We still have somebody inside, and some kids are. But it's worked out nice, and we're just doing it for the 5th grade. So, but that was an idea of Mr. Henry and Miss Stevens in the lunchroom, and it's worked out really well. So, and again, I'd like to thank the board for all the support they've given us. We're really excited about the additional cement that we're going to have that'll just aid in it's really a safety deal. And if you come up here after school, sometimes there's a lot of kids moving. And if we get, by getting that additional exit, I think it's going to improve that. And sometimes early on, we were almost 40 minutes the first week of getting kids on the car loop and things. It's getting better. I think we were early as we could on Grandparents' Day, which was great. And before going to Grandparents' Day was very well attended, worked out good. We had people come in both entrances, and we kind of went away with everybody signing in because we weren't really doing anything with the sheets anywhere. And I guess if we have to go back that one, but very positive feedback on that. So now what's new at Tonganoxie Elementary? I'm just going to talk about. Turn it on. Okay. Where are we going?
That's a short list.
Yep, that's all that's new. We got.
Any questions?
Just 3 basic items that, not basic, but big items. Okay, 3 things I'm going to talk about quickly. We are improving our student intervention protocols. A lot of people, I'm sure Stephanie knows, MTSS. We've changed that to be called Brave Support Period. We just thought that MTSS was at a point where it was kind of, we got to do it. So we've changed that. We're working on improving our assessment scores, and we're going to be using data. Not that they haven't done that in the past, but we're really going to focus on the good data to drive our decision making. One of the big resources is our MAP testing and all the other things with that. And then we're going to try to improve our reading scores by adding phonics back to into our reading curriculum. I think there's been a little disconnect the past few years at Tonganoxie. We got great instruction, we got great people here, and now we're just working on getting us back into a little bit more alignment and doing the things that we know we can do. What is BSP? It's just it's a system of, I should have brought my glasses, system of prevention, early identifications, and intervention supports to ensure every student learns from instruction. A student support system designed to identify students' needs and support those needs on a regular basis and be consistent. And the BSP period has done that. We're going to use data-driven identification, research-based strategies, progress monitoring, consistent grade level supports, and all available staff being used to help students. Quickly, what is BSP? It's a 45-minute period each day. In the morning, we have kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and in the afternoon, we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Our Title I math and reading and SPED teachers will work with our Tier 3 students, so I'm going to show you that quickly. Our classroom teachers will work with our Tier 1 and Tier 2 students, and again, all available staff. The tiers of support, some of you have probably seen this, and it's real easy. You want to have the smallest number of students in the Tier 3. A lot of those kids are going to be special ed kids that have IEPs, but every student should be receiving Tier 1 interventions. That could be as simple as moving a kid to take a test or redirecting or give them a break. But again, the grade level teachers are going to have a lot of responsibility for a majority of them, and then we can use our specialists with our Tier 3 kids who are struggling in math and or reading. Here's some of the things we'll be using to drive our decisions. Of course, MAP scores. Probably one of the most important things that sometimes gets overlooked are teacher observations. The teachers are around the kids all the time. They're the ones who really know what kids' strengths are and what weaknesses are. Of course, we're going to meet all the IEP accommodations for our special ed kids. And now we have interim and input on their predictive state assessments. And they're quick 5-10 minute things, 5-10 questions that we'll be using this year. And if the teachers that took advantage of it last year, their kids actually did better on the state assessment. So this year, everybody who can take them is going to use them. And that window for the predictive opened today, I believe, wasn't it, Tanya?
The mini tests are open today, but the predictive are those windows
and
October
we've got
7th.
Yep, and we have some of our people going to the workshop on the testing. I think Mrs. Blazo and Tanya are going to that. And then we'll use research-based strategies and formative assessments just throughout the year, whether it's classroom tests, spelling tests, things like that. This is interesting. The great thing about MAP, and I was with MAP when it first came out, it was just a number. I got a 220. Now you can actually tell what that number means and what MAP does. This is an example of what we can do in each class. It'll break it up. Students will fall in, and you can't see that graph, but you'll have 4 types of students. A student that has low achievement and has high growth, high achievement, high growth, low achievement, low growth, and high achievement and low growth. 4 parts of the quadrant. And we're going to use that to identify the needs in each one of those areas, because those kids in each area have kind of the same needs, for both math and reading. And it's going to be a possible placement when we get into our BSP. So here's some research-based strategies, just some examples. Setting objectives. I want to go into a classroom and go up to the kids and say, what are we doing today? I want them to be able to tell me what they're doing. And I want to see it somewhere so it's visible. This is probably one of our strengths in this building. Our teachers reinforce effort and provide great recognition. And we do a lot of different cooperative learning. We have cues, questions, advanced organizers, non-linguistic representations. Those are pictures and things. Those are just some of the examples of research-based strategies that we're using. Now, the phonics piece, been here a little over a year, and so I'm learning. I'm not an expert at elementary curriculum. I'm trying to learn every day. But one thing, whether it's in elementary, middle school, or high school, you still have to have some components. And what I've found to be common is a effective literacy program has those 6 things: phonemic awareness, phonics instruction, vocabulary, fluency, comprehension, and writing. Currently, we don't have a definite or defined phonics part of our instruction, and is very important at the primary grade levels. And our kindergarten team has really taken off and ran with this. And we've got, today, we had a BLT meeting. We talked about our October 17th PD Day and what we're going to do. We've created a phonics committee last spring. They met in August, and we're going to meet again in October on our PD Day. And our goal is to get in place a phonics program by the start of 2nd semester for the building, mainly focusing on our K1, 2, and 3rd grade. Cindy Haddock is the elementary education consultant from KSDE, and I talked to her today. Our entire kindergarten team went to a workshop with her last year, and she's going to come down and give the entire presentation on the science of reading on the October 17th PD. And it's free, so that's good. And we want to just make sure we're following best practices when it comes to reading. And there's a lot of different theories out there, and they're all good, but there's a lot of different factors to see what's best for your building, and we are evaluating that. And we're going to continue to evaluate our reading program, and I'm pretty straightforward. A lot of people kind of, I don't know if they understand me, but the bottom line is we got to do a better job, and we have the great personnel, great staff. We don't need any new people. We just got to focus in on some things, and that's what our goal is this year, is improving those 3 areas. So, any questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
When did you do your map testing?
We do it 3 times during the year. We're starting it right now, and then we need to do a better job of looking at the data. And we had some time at the beginning of the year to work with
Mr. Fowler. Mr. Fowler.
Mr. Fowler at the middle school. There's a piece of it called Map Skills, and it's designed for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And it can identify exactly where a student's deficiencies they are, and then it goes them down a path of resources to focus on that. But we'll do it 3 times, and hopefully we're going to see some growth. And out of our scores, then we can decide through our progress monitoring, maybe with some of our MAP scores, whether we need to move a kid up to tier 3 and get some more interventions, or down, or if they need to be pulled out for reading or math, or those things. So.
Okay. The only reason I was wondering is in the middle school, they started map testing the day after Labor Day. And I had 2 kids that were both of my daughters.
Well, you want my honest answer? I'm not a big test person all the time, because I think, especially at this age, think about a 3rd grader that's going to test math 3 times. They're going to take the state assessments. They're going to be benchmarked 3 times a year. I don't remember doing that when I was in 3rd grade.
Right. I just think whatever date that you pick on the calendar to do it, that it should be a date that's not coming back from a holiday weekend.
Well,
because
and
you have stressed out kids that are worried. I mean, kids that care about their grades, because they have, like in the middle school, they have goals. So like my daughter said, her goal is to raise 3 points, but
but they're exhausted from being gone for 3 days on a holiday weekend, and then they come back the next day. That's not the best day to test.
You know, and we run into
Like,
those things a
very
lot of times with
stressful.
scheduling, and we have such a small period of time really with kids, you know, and so we've actually got, I'm excited about it, but some people are concerned when we have our fundraiser that we did last spring, which to me re-energized the building. We're doing it right in sync with map testing. My thought was, what a better way to have it, to have another group in and pump you up about doing something and then go take a test. But we'll see. It could have the reverse effect. But the scheduling of the testing in a building this size, with all those tests, it's quite a thing to take on. And I don't want to do it. I appreciate Mrs. Kiefer and Mrs. Blazo taking care of it, but it's an undertaking. And adding the other technology class and things are helping those things. But, you know, I don't know when the perfect time to take a test is. The good thing is with MAP, with the online assessments, they do a good job of, you know, you just can't go in and make the Christmas tree with an online assessment. You know, it does about as good a job of giving a true result of where that student is academically in those areas. And it's come a long way. If you know, we've got stuff that we try to share with parents and things, but when MAP first started out and where it's now, it's two different animals, and it's really, really teacher friendly, and it's really, really student friendly. And since we're doing it in the middle school and the high school, we want to make it our valuable assessment so they can have some consistency as they move from middle school to high school.
It also alerts the teacher and the student if they're guessing too, so you know if they're just making guesses, it like pauses them and tells them you're guessing. So it tries to prevent those kids from just clicking through and giving false results. It tries to keep them going through.
To identify that.
Yeah, and you can look, if I'm, correct me, Gail, if I'm wrong, you can go and see how long a kid took to take, how long he was on the test.
Per
Whether
question,
it was-
you can note
Yeah.
per question.
So,
I mean, it seems like the primary objective here with that is to identify where the gaps are. So
Yes.
that you don't, so that someone doesn't go through the system, through their K through 12 time and end up with the Swiss cheese education where there's gaps that were made, you know, they had earlier that then never get filled.
you're exactly right. I've referred to them forever as the kids that fall through the cracks. They're here every day. They don't qualify for special ed accommodations. They don't get a great amount of support at home, but they're here every day. They're not a discipline problem. And with large numbers, sometimes they fall through the cracks. So we're trying to eliminate as many of those situations. Our goal is that we want to have every third grader on or above reading level by third grade. And we like any kid that comes to Tonganoxie Elementary as a kindergartner, when they go into sixth grade, they want to be on or above reading level and math level. I can't say that that is where we're at right now, but that's what our goal is.
So are you setting goals for each kid too?
Not yet.
So you'll,
Not
this year
yet.
as a trial year?
But they got excited last year. There were some kids coming down to my office saying, you know, I got a 210 and I had a 205, you know, and we, like I said, we do a great job of recognizing those things. I'm gonna let that up to the teachers. If they feel like those, you know, they're gonna have kids that wanna set those goals, you know, your high flyers, and there's other ones that really, they're not gonna really wanna worry about it. So that's something that the teachers at grade levels can decide if that's something they feel like can be incentive to them. I don't want to go and say you're setting goals with every kid. I think that's something that we'll talk about, because I love goal setting. I don't know, again, all the tests and all the things we do, they're 7, 8, 9 years old. They gotta be, you know, that's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that they understand why they're taking the test and what the result really means for them individually. And I think just by seeing that and just seeing that little growth, I think that makes a kid feel intrinsic reward. Sometimes all we give them is intrinsic rewards where it's, you know, tangible and you can feel it. I want them to value that intrinsic reward that, hey, you did well. You can take this score from August and this score in May. Look at how much progress you made. Now if you do this, this, and this, we can even go higher. That's how I want to approach it.
I have a question. A lot of it is like academic related. What is your social and emotional
Well,
education
we're working
like?
on that. That's another piece is probably I would say is just as important as what we're talking about.
When you look at the state schools, that social and emotional piece
Mhm.
is right there at the top of what they say everybody in the state of Kansas needs
Yes,
right now.
and we have gone through a two-part trauma training with our social workers, and we're gonna do another, I'm trying to work it in our October, again, it comes with days, but we're trying to work in another continued presentation on the social emotional part. And I'll give another plug like I did in May. I wanna have a social emotional classroom that's fully staffed.
I went to a training and they talked a lot about the 7 habits of highly effective kids and some of those pieces where they're implementing in the classroom too. And so I don't know if that's something that you guys are looking at as a program like that.
We know that we need a program that's consistent building wide. Right now, we're just trying to educate them on what to look for and what trauma looks like and what we can do basically. And then our goal is, again, to find something that's consistent building wide. So,
Is your time frame for that, you know, is to get through the maps and then do something like that, or is it in parallel?
for the social emotional,
Yeah.
I mean, it's tied to academics, but a lot of it is just what they are at home with when they come. I mean, I had a second grader in the hallway with the parents today, and not wanting to go into the classroom, and it had nothing to do with school. You know, we get kids that come in, and I'm a high five guy. I get it a lot. Today, Monday, it's a big day for us. I didn't mention this, we've kind of changed our counselor's role, that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're in the classroom doing lessons. On Monday and Friday, they're working with those kiddos, because Monday's a tough day. You know, kids are gone for 2 days or sometimes 3, and they come back. There's a lot of stuff we don't even want to know what they're dealing with, and our counselors are there for them. And then on Friday, same thing. Okay, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. So we've kind of changed our counsel look at it, but there is that to me. I can't give you a timeline. Yeah, let's get a room right now, a teacher. Can we do it? I don't. But a timeline is hopefully next year, or at the very latest in 2 years, that we have a social emotional classroom that is staffed for those kids that don't have it. You know, you probably have them in your classroom. And the thing that is frustrating or challenging, I guess frustrating is a bad word, is when one kid who's dealing with stuff at home disrupts the other 20 kids in the class, and because of guidelines, we have to take those 20 kids out and work with this one kid. Well, a social emotional classroom would be, hey, you know what? Let's go down to the whatever room we call it, and we'll have protocols so a kid can, you know, feel good about going back to class and relax, and we'll have people in there to deal with those things.
So what are the limitations for making that happen sooner then?
We don't know enough about it. I've got to talk to both my counselors. They're going to probably go up to Emporia at some time and spend a day in one of the elementaries that has one of those classrooms that they put in last year. It's kind of like our preschool program. When I listened to the gal this summer at the conference, she told us the good, the bads, but they would not want to give it up because it's really helped. Though I don't even know how many times last year that we had to, and it's nothing with the kid, they're just dealing with stuff. We've had to clear classrooms because of one child acting out, and this way we can maybe take him or her out of that environment instead of taking the other 20 that are there, because to me it's not fair to the other 20 students, but I feel for the kid that's having those issues, so we've got to do a better job of, and not that we do a great job right now, we need to go to the next step, and it ties in what you were saying, what the state is looking at. So I'll be putting it on our wish list in May.
Is there any look at doing some kind of social emotional training in the classroom with the actual classroom teacher then?
We do.
Like morning meetings and that kind of stuff where you're actually...
We're doing a little bit. I know I had some dialogue with Mr. Feldkamp this week about our Step Up program. Is it? And what? Or first, second step, excuse me. And we do some of those things, but again, we've got about 4 different things going on, and I don't want to revolt from our staff, so we're going to prioritize, knowing that we've kind of identified some things, and we're going to work on this and then this and this, because if I throw at them all the time, then it's not going to be a happy situation. But no, it's very important on our radar to address the social emotional.
There are several Gemini schools that are doing cross grade level morning meetings, so like they have a few kids from kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all in one room kind of covering that weekend, especially like on a Monday, and then they split back out into their classroom. So they have.
And we have small
they have that
groups.
same
We have
teacher.
kind of like that. I don't know necessarily for doing them in the morning, but both of our counselors, they have groups where they'll start working their groups. You know, it's only been the first couple of weeks, and we have a new counselor. But by the first part of the second 9 weeks, they're going to have groups that meet just like you're talking about with our lunch again and things like that. And that's kind of the time that we use that when we only have third grade going to lunch at this time and second to get that cross grade level. It'll be a challenge. Right now, one of the challenges we're having is because of our BSP and our pullout and things that we're finding that some of our grade level classrooms, the teacher is not spending as much time with their students in their classroom because they're getting here for specials, they're getting here for title, they're getting pulled all over the place, and there still needs to be that home safe base of in the classroom. So we're just going to evaluate and keep moving in the right direction.
So when you say clear a classroom,
Just like I said,
absolutely, why can't you take the problem child out of the
because I
classroom?
can't touch him physically.
But you could ask him to leave.
I can
right?
ask him to leave, but if he doesn't want to leave, but if I have that option, hey, let's go up to the room. We have safe places. There's tents, and I mean, there's places in the room, but there are some kids that that's where we're left with. It's the reality of it. So, and it's nothing. I mean, it's a lot of times. Kids are just acting up because they want help.
Yeah.
And the only way they can let people know is to throw a desk or, unfortunately we've had that. So, but we're working through. We've got great counselors. Our teachers are great. Even when they do have to clear the room, they've got the kids out and they're engaged and they're doing something. But it is different to get off that schedule in elementary. That's another thing I'm learning about elementary. Schedules are very important. And when you have a disruption like that, and we've got 20 minutes here, 15 here, we're going to recess, to lunch, to specials, it causes a lot of stress, not only for the kids, but the rest of the building.
So on that wish list, how high on that, if you're to?
Well, I'm going to wait and see what our staff says.
Okay.
For me, it would probably be our #1 priority, because I just see too many kids that have issues at home, and kids are getting dropped off, and we're expected to take care of everything for them. So, and they won't perform. It's my belief they won't perform where they're capable of if they don't feel good, and they don't feel happy, and they don't feel safe, and they don't have somebody to, that they can cover them. That's why I tell them.
Adults aren't that much different either.
I know. What do you think I'm going to do when I go home? I'm going to get my social emotional stress with my wife.
Hopefully she's not listening to this.
If you guys don't have any other
It's a
questions.
sad situation.
The
so-
Chromebook.
It is. And I'll just tell you, that's why I do the job.
Chromebooks, was elementary? I can't-
We have
Elementary is brand new this year, right?
Chromebooks 1st through 5, and we have tablets for kindergarten. And it's worked out nice. I know one thing that's really nice, I don't want to stay too long. We were able to purchase keyboards. They're really cool colored keyboards they're smaller for the kids. And it's got the home row identified, it's got the vowels, it's got the numbers. They're really cool. So all of our kids, when we're working on the EduType, is that what we're using? They all have the same colored keyboard. I went in, I said, I could have used this one 20 years ago and I still would be doing this. So,
Good to hear that's working. Any other questions?
I'd like to wish Kai good luck to the Packers next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
That was really bad.
With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? We did have one amendment to that earlier. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. Okay, public, is there any public comments? to item 4.1, superintendent report.
Okay, first off, let me hand out, I think there's one, 2 pages, just like I gave you.
Okay.
Start with. So, Tanya's handing out the timeline. I talked to Amber 3 times today, and her plan is to meet with a small, you can't meet with everybody, but a small group of board members to kind of just fill us in on where we're going to be starting on this, and we haven't set that time and date yet. But we will maybe know a little more by Thursday when we have our special board meeting, you know, as far as when Dustin comes in on Thursday. But she really would like for us to meet with McCown Gordon, DLR group, the team, you know, the team that's going to be working on this project. So we'll probably be talking to 2 or maximum of 3 of our board members about attending a meeting at some time here in the next couple of weeks. Now, this is all just very preliminary. She just kind of wanted you to see some of, they're both the same thing. One's in graph form and the other one's just in timeline, date form. Does that make sense if you kind of look at them? So, you know, there's your pre-design. You know, she wants to get started around the 1st of October, and then your, just go on through it. You know, your schematic design, your design development, all those kinds of things, construction documents. It's all here. This is just give you guys a little bit of an idea. And here, very, very quickly, we're going to be, you know, getting into the nuts and bolts of getting this started. Okay.
Maybe everyone can take a look at this.
Yeah, this is
So,
If you're interested or have a nominee or whatever, we can sort through that because we'll be scheduling that. I mean, I'm not available next week, but I've even told Lauren if we could, I'd be willing to even start it the week after that, have some kind of a meeting to get the ball rolling on this whole process so we have as much time as possible to do it right.
now, one thing I'd really like to get alignment on is expectations for management and how communication, executive reporting back to the board, how frequently that is, what that would include.
she wants to go over, I don't know if you, how you want to call it, but she wants to go over with the board members on what the expectations are. Just kind of a class 101 of how this all works,
Right.
you know, based on their experience. So those, I know those things will be addressed
Yeah.
in that pre-meeting. So it's not going to be just a meet and greet. It's, we need to kind of figure out what our
There's a lot
roles
of
are.
work to do.
So yeah, I mean, it just is. So they're excited about getting started, and we're as equally excited to get this thing rolling. So we'll get this going in a proper way. As I said, we do have a special board meeting on the 12th, and we have the verbiage. I didn't run off a copy for everybody, but this will, it's online already. I saw it, it was posted. But this is the information. If you want to take a quick look at it, this is the information that was sent to us by Gilmore and Bell. I think his name is Kevin Wimpy. And they draft this, and then there'll be a couple of, you know, it's going to be a general obligation refunding and improvement bonds for consideration. And actually, we met with Dustin Avey last week. It was before
Labor Day.
Yeah, before Labor Day.
Thursday, 28th.
I can't remember what, Drew, Jim, and I think it was Chris,
Just-
the 2 of you.
Just the 2 of us.
And it was very informational about what the plan was for trying to help the district along on maybe some refinancing of our present bonds. And so that was very encouraging. So we'll go over all that Thursday again, okay? So that's the next. I did give Mr. Bothwell, I got a notice, Audra's got a copy, and then I gave a copy to Mr. Bothwell. There is a rezoning hearing coming up that if the board so wishes, we could appeal, I guess. I don't know too much about County Road 1 corridor. Maybe some of you know more about it than I do, but there's a map and what they're trying to do. And if you have an interest, you might want to see Mr. Bothwell.
Yeah.
He has everything there.
Building site is.
So the next one is, we want to just pass out, if you would tell me again, these are our goals, Tanya's goals, and my goals. that we've been working on probably since July. Obviously my goals will be heavily influenced by the success of the bond issue, because facilities will be, I know there's gonna be a lot of meetings coming down the pike. I'm really relying on Tanya's expertise in the curriculum side. She's done a great job with that, and her goals reflect that. And my goals are going to be more the budget side of it, and facilities, student safety, those types of topics. And so we also tried very hard to align our goals with some of the board goals, and that was important to us. Thank you. So you can look those over, and this will be, we can discuss some of these as we move forward, especially as we get more towards my evaluation and those kind of events. Bylaws, I am going to a meeting next week, September 18th. The Frontier League, as you might recall, has put together an amendment to take a hard look at the private versus public school postseason playoff question. We are on the docket for presenting. It's really being led, I'm just going to tell you, by Paola. They've done a wonderful job writing this all up. Their high school principal is very vested in this, well written, great communicator, so he'll probably be our lead person, and we'll be there for support and answering questions. What we're trying to do, real simply, is to try to get the private schools to have their own postseason playoffs. So no private school would be actually playing a public school in the postseason. I'm going to tell you up front, I think I don't know if it'll go. I think it's probably going to come down to more what they call a multiplier, which is a whole different ball game on success, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, we're having this meeting. Got to tell you, Grandparents' Day was incredible, as it always is. If you want to see a lot of happy faces, come on up for about 2 hours, and it's pretty good. Got to tell my one kindergarten story. I was going around the classrooms, and over here in kindergarten, a little girl raised her hand, and I asked her what she needed, and she says, "Aren't you supposed to be at work?" And so, you know what? You're right. I think I'll go back to work. That's how my day goes. So, yeah, I don't know. She knew me. She didn't call me the president.
Is that what your wife says when you get home too?
But it was cute. That was the best laugh I had in a long time. All right, so just a couple of good observations. We have had a really wonderful August and September back to school start. If you start with Mr. Van being named the 2018-9 Midco, and I think it's Crown Toyota Educator of the Year, that was a really special event for him and his family, and it was done right. I enjoyed that. The back to school barbecue was just a huge success. It was very well attended. I think great weather and a lot of happy faces, and we really enjoyed doing that. And I know a lot of people would like to see that become an annual event, and we're hoping to do that. The completion of the turf project has just been very positive for the Tonganoxie community. It's a beautiful turf, but not only that, it's being used either legally or illegally at all times. And so, there's just a lot of people out there, and we see youth football, a lot of soccer groups. I've seen families out there just throwing the ball around. And it's really rewarding to watch the soccer and the football teams practice at the same time in conjunction, using half a field. And that's what I love it. So the coaches are working together. Chieftain athletics are off to a good start. I'm just talking in general. Can't really talk about the academic piece yet because it's just too early. But it was a lot of fun Friday night going to the ball game and watching our teams play really well against a good Batesford Linwood team. So it's our tribals, and I know the kids are sky high about how the season has started in all sports, not just football. It's pretty hard to beat the successful bond issue vote that we had Thursday afternoon. Tanya, Mark Farrar, and Brent went up there for that. That was pretty interesting to watch how they did that in the voting machine, how everything was vested. No doubt, and they take this big key out and put it in the machine and turn it, And, you know, it took about 15 or 20 minutes for it to tabulate all the votes. And when she read off the final numbers, I mean, it was pretty exciting for us. A very close vote, which, I mean, I'm not going to say it surprised us, because this was a big issue. I mean, we put a lot of work into this. So really, you look back on it, it was nearly a year's work, over a year's work, to come to this culmination of a successful bond. So we're very proud of that. Very proud.
Will they notify you then Wednesday? when
Wednesday,
that's
yeah.
official?
Yeah, they're canvassing the votes on Wednesday. I don't even know the time. 9. And we could be invited to go up if we wanted to. I'm not real sure. She just told Tanya and I that these are vested ballots, which means there's just no doubt on these. It's not like you're having a walk-in ballot. It's because it's been run through the machine. The machine keeps all the ballots internally. So it's looks like a big copy machine is what it looked like. So there we are. It's fine. Thank you.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. Very exciting week. Very.
Any other questions? If not, Tanya, your report?
All right. I wanted to update you on the 4-year-old at-risk preschool. Mr. Mann alluded to that. We do have 14 students in the morning and 14 in the afternoon. In addition to what Mr. Mann said, we feed the morning students breakfast in the morning, and then the afternoon students get lunch, and they eat family style, and Barb has helped out in that and making sure that students are served what appropriate meals. It's fun to eat family style. You would think that most people do that at home, but in this day and age, not so much. So it's a real treat for the kids to sit and eat family style and learn how to eat appropriately, manners, have appropriate dinner time conversations. So that's a treat for the kids. The program is running very well. We are, I think we're capping it right now at 14 and 14. There's a lot to learn with all these preschoolers, great kids, and a great staff.
Did you have to turn some people down then?
No, we took everybody who applied. We originally applied for 40 slots, 20 morning, 20 afternoon, and so we just opened it wide open. There are some of the students who qualify for at-risk based on 8 different criteria, and there are some students who did not, so they are just more of our peer models. So we just took everyone who applied, and everybody's in.
So, because it's targeted more to the at-risk, so if
Yes.
as it grows, it could be all at-risk in the future if we cap it at 14.
It could. They will get the priority in the future. You know, if we do have a waiting list, it will be the peer models. Hopefully, we don't ever get to a point where we have to turn folks away. We just don't want to do that.
Hopefully we can grow it or whatever.
Yeah, and it was such a new program. You know, we had, gosh, so much to learn with transportation and with student nutrition. You know, we'd never served 4-year-olds meals before, so we had to learn all about that. And, you know, what's appropriate transportation? Do we have to have a car seat or do we not? Can we put them on a regular bus? So there's been a lot to learn. We do have new curriculum that the Tonganoxie Education Foundation gave us a grant to purchase the curriculum, which is the Kaplan Connect for Learning. It's really high quality curriculum for preschool students, and the testing, which you have to have a testing program, and so we selected what most of the other at-risk preschools are using, and very high quality curriculum. So we were very thankful to the foundation for providing that grant to us. Any questions on preschool? All right. Next, I wanted to update you on the ACT. If you remember last year, we gave the ACT to juniors and seniors who had not taken it before, and we were able to give it at our location, and we gave the online version. There were some schools that gave the paper version. They were very limited in that manner. We had a great experience with online testing. Normally, that really would stress me out. You know, you never know if there's going to be bad weather, if a dump truck is going to cut a line, you know, just, it was very stressful just getting those things set up in the very first time that we offered that, but it went seamlessly. We had 3 different groups of students take the test, and we fed them lunch, and it was really good. So the state is paying for that again this year, and this time it's just for juniors instead of seniors. So we'll give the free ACT to senior, or all the juniors who wish to take it. Our counselors have kind of a flow chart that helps them determine if they need to take it or if they don't, and they walk through that and then they get signed up. This year also the state is paying for what's called a pre-ACT. It's for freshmen. This will be given a paper version only, but what's unique about this is, you know how ACT is very secretive with their test materials. You can't save anything. You don't have a copy of your test, so you don't know how you did except for the number score. With the pre-ACT, it's a paper version and you get to keep the tests. They'll score it for you, but you get to keep it and know what questions you missed, what questions you need extra help on, what you had questions on. So that will really enable us to use that in our instruction and to help our students become better at math, English, reading, and that'll help our ACT scores in the future.
So if a student takes that, then the ACT questions cover a variety of subjects. So let's say I take that, and then I want to follow up on the questions to figure out how I could have solved the question correctly. Then are you on your own to take that?
We'll be using that in our instruction. So all freshmen will take it, and then we'll be using that in instruction in our English classes and our math classes in some way, shape, or form. You may be in a different math class or English class from other students, but we'll still use that information to help. Maybe there's, I don't know, a whole group of kids who miss the same sections. Well, we know we really need to focus on that and divide kids up. Same kind of thing we do with the map tests. You know, we take the needs of the students and then we plug it in. And we get the assessment results too. It's not just individual. And this will be given at Tonganoxie. So we will control the test environment, and we run it just like the ACT. But this is the very first year we're giving it, so it's brand new, and we're getting trained on it here later this month, and we're really excited about it, about the opportunities.
That's during that school day, it's not
Yes,
a
it is
weekend
during-
thing like the ACT?
Right. Both of these, the regular ACT and the pre-ACT, are during regular school days. All right, we're really excited about those. Also, this school year, and you can see in my goals too that were handed out, we'll be focusing to make things more seamless through pre-K through grade 12 in our curriculum, in our interventions, like Mr. Mann was referring to, the BSP, MTSS. Those are targeted interventions for students. We're working on making that consistent across our district, pre-K through 12. The social emotional piece is very important. We're looking for a screener, and then we're working with the counselors and school psychologists and our social workers to come up with a seamless transition from elementary to middle to high school in our curriculum and with our social emotional screeners that we'll use. And then the individual plans of study really focuses grades 6 through 12. That's what we use. It used to be called Career Cruising, now it's Zello, and that helps our students in 6th grade start that process of planning. What am I interested in? There's a whole host of activities that we will be putting into a scope and sequence. So every 6th grader does these activities, every 7th grader does these, and they build upon each other to help focus your student toward their interests and what they want to do, and their college search and resume building, a whole host of things that are available to us now that were not in previous years. So we've expanded that a bit.
So is it still Career Cruising? It's just expanded, or is it a whole different program?
Career Cruising has changed its name and its programming. So it's like 2.0, or it was purchased or sold out to another company. So you can still use just the Career Cruising piece, or you could transition to Zello and have all these other opportunities. So we've made that transition to Zello for
I was
this year.
just wondering because I just had heard a lot of, or had personal experience with a lot of the kids that take it, and it says that they should be something that is not really something that you could picture them being, or and even anything that they would think that they should be.
My son was told to be a taxidermist. That's what his result was. So
We've had some interesting ones. Are a mime. We've had someone, they were supposed to be a mime, and one was a picture frame maker. So we know that there are some really, ones that don't fit, but that's, when you use the whole scope and sequence and progression of the program, you may get some fluky things like that in the beginning, but it really narrows your focus as you build and go through the whole program. And there are things that will be required of the students to do at 6th grade and then at 7th grade to help them build upon that and build that whole resume and portfolio. So it's a much better program, or more beefed up program, if you will. And our counselors are working on that with the scope and sequence. All right, and then homecoming, I just threw in the schedule there for you. Homecoming is coming up on October 11th. I know that's next month out, but we're starting to look at all of the things that go on with that. And I wanted you to know that the Hall of Fame piece is in there also, and our 2019 inductees are Kay Suter, Liz Kronemeyer, Ron Moore, and Ken Mark. So those are some special individuals that will be honored that day.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. That. Okay, under the Board of Education items, we've got two items. I think it's 5.1 is the discussion of the communication coordinator position. You want to kind of go over that?
Yeah, Tanya and I kind of share this. This is something that we have talked about for not a long time, but probably identified as one of our need areas this summer. And actually, it was also popped up, I think, as one of the board goals. And so that's what really kind of got us thinking about it. I'm just going to kind of, we feel strongly that this is an area that we need help in. And how I would envision it is an attempt by this position to help coordinate all our levels of the district, from elementary, middle school, high school, and district office. Right now, Tanya, I have relied on Tanya for a lot of the communication piece in a lot of different ways. Done a great job, but I think there's so much more available or out there that we're not doing that I know schools our size are doing, is the best way to put it. I mean, and you look at how Eudora uses theirs, how Baser uses theirs, or Bonner Spring, they're all different. I mean, so part of my issue and what this discussion about is how do we mold this to fit Tonganoxie and to try to get this off to a good start. So that's why I envisioned the halftime piece, so that we could kind of mold it and see what the strengths of our applicants are, to see what we can actually do to get our information and communication out to our patrons and students in a better, more organized manner. Right now we're doing it the best we can, but that's certainly, I just think there's a lot of areas for improvement. We talked about it, Tanya and I talked about it for quite a while this morning, what we envision, and quite honestly, we don't have a real clear vision of what this might look like. Probably somebody that would be working with the tech department a little bit. Probably somebody that has social media skills and website skills, but also be able to help us in a lot of other areas. The job description you had was we kind of used a combination of area schools information. It wasn't original by any stretch. This is really a rough draft, guys, so that's what I want you to know. I know you guys probably have some questions about it. I don't know if Tanya has anything you want to add to what I just said, because you have done a lot of the communication piece at this point.
Well, and we've known we've needed this position for a long time. So even back before Mr. Feldkamp came, I was trying to compile some things to put together a district plan, a communication plan district-wide. What does that look like? So we've got all the tools for that. We just don't have the person to carry that forward. I think that's vital. That would be probably the number one thing, is putting together that communication plan. What does it look like? set up some consistency throughout the district. But also, with the passing of the bond issue, what a huge opportunity for us to share what we're all about and the great things that are happening here. You know, we try to do that as much as we can in each building in the district, but there's so much more that we're not showing and telling because we just can't.
So could run through a couple examples for folks that, audience or people online, what things you're thinking about, examples of what might be included in that.
Well, the bond issue for sure, daily progress on how things are going, how our students are interacting with the construction folks and with the DLR folks, the architects, and connecting that learning to the actual building of the new high school. And then also all the awesome things that happen in the buildings every day that, gosh, I don't even know about because I'm so immersed in doing my own thing. And, but that like 5th grade has the Colonial Fair. It's amazing. And I wouldn't have known about it had my own kids not gone through it. So I think that is important too, to be able to share those things. But there's no way that Mr. Feldkamp and I can spread out and get to all these things and show the awesome things that are going on in our district. It's not just sports. It's not just this or that.
Just one of the things I've seen is just managing the calendar because it's available through so many different media points and which one, and then keeping it coordinated. And do you go to one different, source for that to distribute that information? There's the one you subscribe to, there's a PDF online, there's, information that's put out there that's related to calendar on Facebook. There's all of these different things, and it's tough to keep it all coordinated.
And when you throw a change in, or
Yes. How do you get that out?
Yep.
That something has changed. My biggest concern, actually, it's two sides of the same coin. Is one is there so much? There's a lot of roles and responsibilities that person could end up taking, and the better qualified they are, the more they're going to get because they've demonstrated their value to the district. So they're just going to get more over time. Is that then more than a 20-hour per week position?
And Kaya asked me that today, and the way I would answer this is I'm kind of entering this cautiously because we've also identified college and career readiness at the high school and even middle school as an area we really feel we need some help in. And we just can't keep adding staff after staff after staff, so we're going to have to be, we're going to have to gauge.
I think that's a concern for a lot.
Yeah, I think we really have to gauge what our number one priority is, so that's why I'm kind of easing into this as a half-time position as rather going into it full speed, full-time.
Right.
Because I really feel in the next year, in springtime, we're going to have to take a hard look at the college career readiness piece, what that might look like for us.
So
not this year, 2 years.
Related to that then is, if you're asking for part-time, does that change the applicants that might apply?
Yeah, I think it certainly would. I think there would be some people already in our community that are interested. But I get what you're saying. We may not, a full-time position making X amount of dollars, certainly that would probably make a difference.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think it's a need, obviously. We put it on our priority list, but it seems like we almost need to have our major goals or objectives in mind of what we want and create the job for what we want to accomplish, not just find the person and then build the job.
yeah.
That's a dangerous, there's great people out there, but that's a dangerous thing to just hire somebody and then build the job around it.
It may not be fair to the
And
person.
it's not fair to them either. I guess I think we need it yesterday or 5 years ago, this position, but I guess I really want to be pretty patient about defining what we want.
What I was struggling at with it was trying to decide exactly what that job description looked like.
That's what I was saying. I think the job needs to fit the school's need, not fit the applicant.
Right, no,
So
I get it.
We need to know what those needs are, so then that description is built upon the needs.
What would be the best way to determine those needs?
Well, we're the building principals and
Yeah.
stuff kind of involved in this process
Not
a little
probably as
bit?
much
Or
as- That might be a good start.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't, you know, kind of each one of them may have some unique needs, but that may help pinpoint some things. I don't know.
Well,
we-
usually with something like this, it's a list. You start with a list of requirements or things, then start prioritizing based upon the value it provides, and see how that turns out over time by talking to all the different stakeholder groups.
I mean, even if you came up with a list of things, talking to everybody,
We've already
they could
started
rank
this.
them. We could even give our opinion on
I think
priorities.
that's
Things. I mean,
pretty
I don't
valid.
want
We struggle, I mean, even we struggle trying to prioritize what exactly we
Yeah.
need. We just know we need help.
Well,
But
and
what's-
some of that would be, is this something that we think should be happening, but it is not happening currently? Because there is this, is that, an item, something that is being done, and it's being done sporadically, and by aggregating that activity into one, there's a value there, or it frees somebody up to focus on their primary job role that they can't because they're trying to do
Right.
this. I could see you taking that and looking at those potential job requirements that way.
No, that makes sense.
And could it be that maybe they don't take on all the responsibilities, but they're managing the responsibilities that some other people are doing as
Mhm.
well? Like maybe there's some school secretary, I'm just using this as
Right.
a random thought, that maybe they're doing some
If it-
already and they're kind of managing that.
Well,
We're definitely scattered right now. I mean, we have information coming from all
Yeah.
sorts of different
Because
directions.
if you start to say, because it's a communications coordinator, and you start to say they're the ones developing the strategic or the communications plan. Now, that's more of a communications manager or director, and that changes who you're asking for, their experience, as well as the pay range, right?
Yeah, I mean, it might not hurt from our end just to have an idea of pay scale impact to the budget,
I-
because it
yes.
varies widely in terms of what we're talking about
Well,
doing here.
yeah, I mean, initially, what I was thinking, halftime probably around 20,000. I was just trying to budget out a number that I thought might fit into our budget, but that's it. I think if we start going larger than that, it's gonna put us in a position of, I'm just concerned about next year's payroll and where we're headed.
Here's my, so my concern about making a communications position a part-time position is that in any communication project, it takes more hours to do it right than you would think. So what happens when you're rushed? So if you're getting paid $20,000 to do something part-time, you're gonna put in extra, you're putting in overtime because you have to proofread and you have to go through everything. Or if you're doing event planning, you're doing more. If you're doing branding, you have to, go work with the printer and you have to, I mean, there's just, time, evaporates, right? So I think that this position and the need for this position is absolutely a priority. But I think that in doing this wrong and I think that you can do more harm in not approaching this the right way than you're doing good. Because you do not want somebody to step into a communication role and not have the exact same vision or, this person is the spokesperson for your whole district. So this person has to be, it has to be
It's very
messaging.
visible. If they don't do
Right.
it well, everybody's
Right.
going to know.
It affects, it affects, I hate to say it affects morale, but once you start promoting bad, you're in education, it's an educational environment. So if you're going to do something and put out a product that is not A+ work, that your child would not get an A+ for in a classroom, then the community will go crazy, and that's not what you want to do. So, I just think I mean, I feel very passionate that this is something we need, but I also feel equally passionate that it needs to be a full-time position so that you can hire somebody that can put their heart and soul in it and because you can't, if you want somebody to just do project-based things, like if you want somebody to come in and promote the bond, you can hire somebody to freelance that. And that's something, I mean, any project that you want. If you want somebody, like something I feel passionate about in our district is that we don't have branding. Like we have branding, but it's not a set. You know, we have 2 different logos and we don't have an exact color red and, you know, all of that, but you can freelance that out. And you're not, you know, all of those projects, you can freelance and you can then manage that freelance person a lot easier than you can say, okay, we're gonna hire you for $20,000 and we expect you to do all of these things and, you know, good luck. Like I mean, I just think maybe if there's priorities from a communication standpoint where we feel are more urgent, that those projects can be, you know, set where you can hire a freelancer to fill those. And then when we figure out, one of the priorities that we set as a board was to evaluate staff. I mean, there are staff, I know for a fact, that spend time doing event planning and doing stuff that somebody who is a full-time position could be doing. And so, like Drew said, then if you evaluate what the staff are, what they're doing in their day, and what they should be doing, but what maybe would be more helpful.
A better utilization of their time.
There you go. So then, you know, then this list is very easy. This is just another district thing, but then this list, because, you know, they have here experience with commercial printing, knowledge of Associated Press style, knowledge of the Texas Public Information Act and student privacy laws, ability, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I just think there's, I don't know, now I'm rambling, but I guess I don't think this is a position that you can just say, we have this need and let's try it. You know, I mean, I think if you want to do that, you need to set it project-based and hire freelancers until you can get it.
I think maybe it sounds like if we could maybe establish some priorities.
Yeah, that's where I'll start.
Circle around with the admin and kind of get back to the board, and we can make this a project. I mean,
Yeah.
we know it's a need, but let's not
Well,
overrush it.
It's on our target list.
Yeah.
That's where I feel about it. It's good.
Anyway, anything else on that? I think we all know where we're at.
Yep. Very good.
Any other comments? Okay, the other item for board, this is board discussion, and there's a few of those. This is just the turf committee met Wednesday, Thursday, I can't remember. And then I have thanks for everyone that came out to the dedication at the field the other night. It was that was a really fun event, I thought. So appreciate that. This is just an update on kind of where things stand based on recent activity. As you can see, there's, you got enough copies?
You got one for Lori there? Is anybody?
I said one right here.
There's an extra one. I didn't change anything from what I emailed.
Yes, sir.
But you can see from cash pledges are up 316,500. We had a sizable new pledge after the bond election that kind of bumped us up. In kind, the bank's pledge is based on the interest, and that calculation is based on the difference between the 2 bids that we received, at which one was 2 1/4 and one was 0. It's not, I think when we went into the project, we were estimating it cost us 3%. There was some concrete that was donated, and ATG took that out of their contract. There was some additional electrical labor to do some of the stuff that was done on the inside. You can see the original bid of ATG was the $655,500. Well, I guess I never said the total of all of what we're considering donations is $377,000. I mean, there were some additional items. I think everyone's aware of the soil stabilization that was done. Concrete, that's just the deduction. I mean, there was, I think it was disclosed in the contract to put all the logos on there. There was a cost that we had to pay to do that. Electrical boxes, it was, I think that was more of a choice of our own to kind of upgrade some of that, but it was, since the field was tore up, decision was made to do that, and we put it in this cost. The soccer goals, I think that Lauren kind of just talked to everybody about that at the beginning. There was a little confusion with ATG about that. But, you know, we're looking at roughly $700-some thousand in that project. I mean, our share of that total would be $330,000. I think there's still some ongoing efforts to do some fundraising, but we just wanted to kind of share this at this point to show the board where things stand. And I think Lori and Kai are working on getting all the kind of the accounting set up on what's pledged. I think we've, of the cash pledges of 316, like 66 or 65 was actual, all fully paid in cash. So, I mean, there's some more we'll have to collect as we go along. But anyway, I think it's been there's been a lot of time and effort put into it, but I think the district's better off with it and how it's turned out. So I don't know if there's any other questions from anyone.
We, Lori might mention about, we have a payment coming up with ATG.
Yeah, that we have.
We have not paid. I mean, that's not really with this, but we haven't signed off on that product yet. So Mitch Loomis is managing that for us, and so we still have a few things to work out. They have come back 4 or 5 times and helped us with a few things. Just the sweep, for example, needed some expertise, but it's working great. It's just a matter of adjustments, you know, and they've done a nice job. Came back and helped us with the fence. I mean, there's they've been real accommodating as far as coming back. But anything else on the?
I don't think so. Just that, no, that final pay application we have not paid yet. We
Right.
just haven't
Yeah, we're still
gotten the
holding.
okay to pay that yet.
Yeah.
But that's not part of this total. I mean, that.
Yeah, this is the gross total.
Yeah,
That's
it has nothing to do with
That's
the
just the,
contract.
that's the distributions and the line and all the different things.
So to date, I think it's an interesting way to look at it. So to date, if you take the donations, including the in-kind donations, then the percent of the invoice that's been privately funded to date is 53%. And then if you just look at the cash donations and take out the in-kind, it's 45%. So I think it's impressive. Whatever that's worth.
We have schools contacting us about how we did it.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot, how they get their community involved. Because this is I mean, it has saved us a lot of work, from getting a field ready, you know, the water. I mean, it is really nice. So,
I thought the neatest thing was the picture of the band practicing out there after that 3-inch rain that one day.
Oh, yeah.
We're having their camp.
it's been phenomenal, no doubt.
All right, with that.
Can I do a restroom break?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have actions, there's no, I guess,
Table.
action items. Can I have a motion to table the posting of communicator position? Is there a motion?
Move to, I'm incentivized to make a motion. I move to table the position.
All right, is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye. I'm getting us to executive session, and then we'll take a break. How's that? We have a need for an executive session, and I think Chris has a motion for us.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters to protect the privacy interest of an identifiable individual.
We need to
Invite
Lauren.
Lauren Feldkamp, Tanya Phillips.
15, fine. I'll kind of
15
move
minutes.
along as fast as I can.
With a 5-minute break?
Yes. All, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye. All right. Did you get all that, Audra?
Yep, I got it. That was perfect too.
All
It was the
right.
lid.
Call the meeting to order following executive session. After discussion over the past few months and evaluation of Mr. Feldkamp's contract and broader review of our personnel practices, I guess I would like to recommend that the board approve an increase of salary of $7,500 retroactive to July 1 for Mr. Feldkamp. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. All right, is there, sorry, my agenda got all messed up here. Executive session, general board discussion. I guess everyone got invited to the meeting. I think we've already talked about it, but Thursday we have the meeting with Piper Jaffray to approve the bond, issuance of the bond, and then there'll be some discussion about a couple of our existing bonds that have some potential to be refinanced at a savings to the district. So it should be a relatively short meeting, but it was just a lot of good information that was presented by Piper Jaffray that when they met with us. Any other, we don't have any other dates, or we'll get back to everyone on, I guess, think if you have someone for the meeting with DLR and schedules for a couple weeks out, something like that.
And don't get me wrong, if we do have more that would like to attend that organizational meeting, it would just be a special board meeting. So, I mean, I think it'd be good for people to hear, you know, because McCown Gordon will be there and DLR.
I mean, if there's interest in that, you
Right.
just let me know how you want to do that and availability, and we can get something set up. I can see some value in that first one,
Yeah.
getting everybody there, and then maybe coming up with a committee out of that. All right, if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.